Welcome to Prego Expo with CYBEX. I'm Sarah Haverstick, the Safety Advocacy Manager for CYBEX, and really excited to be here with you today on the main stage to talk more about car seats, my favorite topic. We've also got Trevor from our marketing team on as well, so he's going to be checking out the chat. You'll hear his voice. He'll get some of your questions over to me so we can answer your questions live during our event today. So if you have questions, type those in that chat so that we can make sure to answer them. You may also see a few other names from our team in the chat. Caitlin and Kelly will be jumping in to help answer some of those questions for you too. We want to make sure you get the info that you need. So to start, we're going to talk car seats because it's my favorite thing to do. I've been working in the field of child passenger safety for 17 years. I'm a certified car seat technician instructor, and I just love that I get to teach people about car seats every single day. So today, knowing that we have probably a lot of expectant parents joining us, we're going to talk a little bit about, how do you choose? What kind of car seat do you need when you're going home with that baby for the first time? And you have a couple of options. And certainly tons and tons of models available in the US. So to start, babies start in that vehicle facing the rear of the vehicle. So there's a couple options in car seats that give you the opportunity to have that child face the rear. The first one over here on my right is an infant car seat. Very typical. A lot of people choose to use that infant car seat from the start. The infant car seat is generally characterized as a seat that's got a carrier that can also then be removed from a base. So the base can stay in your vehicle and that carrier separates and you can attach it to a stroller. So you have like a travel system to make in and out a little bit easier with your child. Or you can carry it, as it says, a carrier. You can carry it when you're out and about running errands, whatever you need to do. Just makes that a little bit easier, especially in that time when you're working with a brand new infant and you've got a lot of things to juggle, a lot of stuff. Babies seem to come with a whole lot of stuff. So you have a lot of stuff to walk around. Most infant car seats start around 4 pounds, and they're really designed to be used from birth. They're really only designed for that infant period of life. That's why we call them an infant car seat. So for most kids, you'll get about a year's worth of use out of this product. It's a little bit more limited because, again, it's just designed for that infant period in life. When I say most kids will outgrow them around a year or so, we've got height limits, we've got weight limits, and we've got fit limitations. All of those things are spelled out in your product instructions and on labels on the side of that car seat. But once your child outgrows any one of those things, they hit the weight limit, they hit the height limit, or in terms of what we've said as a fit limitation, they've hit that. That means they're too big. And again, for a lot of kids, that's around a year old. And for most kids, they're going to outgrow the length of an infant car seat before they're going to hit the height limit of that car seat. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But that's kind of the down and dirty overview of that infant car seat. On the other side, I'll scoot it over a little bit more. I have a all-in-one or a convertible car seat over here. This is our Sirona S convertible car seat. So convertibles are a bit larger. Fortunately, I don't have two vehicle chairs in my office, but so this one's a little bit lower. I'll move it when we start talking about it a little bit more. But convertibles do two things. They can be used rear facing, and then they can be turned and used forward facing. So they're also a lot bigger. You can kind of see that just by looking at it right here, but the back is a lot taller. They're a bit wider. They're designed to fit and accommodate a wider range of children. Most convertibles or all-in-ones, I said all-in-one earlier, and all-in-one is similar. It just adds in the addition of a booster mode as well. But most of these larger multi-mode products start around 4 or 5 pounds. So depending on the product, again, every car seat will be labeled accordingly, but you can use this from birth. So you don't have to have an infant car seat to start. You might choose to start with this larger seat. So some benefits of starting there is ultimately you're going to need it anyway. So the biggest benefit is in terms of your budget. You're going to start with this big seat because you're going to need that big seat when they outgrow the infant car seat. So if you just start there, you don't have to make another purchase. If you're thinking about your eco footprint and how many, things you're putting out into the world and potentially into landfills, that also limits the amount of stuff that you need for that child. You can just start with that convertible car seat. They're going to use it for a much longer period of time. And it's just the one car seat purchase versus having an infant car seat and then transitioning to this big seat. So can be really flexible there. If you know that, more than likely when you're out and about running errands, you're going to do baby wearing versus carrying an infant or using your stroller all the time, a convertible or an all-in-one is a really great option there. You just leave this in the vehicle. This, as you saw, it's a little bit heavier. This is not something you're going to be taking in and out of the car regularly. So this would just stay in your vehicle, but then you can just wear baby when you get to where you're going. So you might not need that infant carrier flexibility. So just a few things to think about as you're going through this decision-making process. I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions to start with, and then we'll go through some of the features of each of these car seats. Trevor, anything so far?
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, we have a few questions. I think you can answer these pretty generally, pretty quickly. First is, which car seat works best when child is over 35 pounds? I think this is the type of car seat. I don't think there's one brand or one specific model that you can say is the best, but please feel free to answer this.
Was that over 30 pounds that cut out for a second?
Yes. Which car seat works best when child is over 35 pounds?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So at that weight, most infant car seats max at 35 pounds. And again, I said most kids are going to outgrow the length of the infant car seat even before they hit that weight limit anyway. So if your child is already 35 pounds, you're going to need to start in one of these larger multi-modes. So you're looking for words like convertible or all-in-one car seat. Again, they start at birth, but in rear-facing mode, they typically go to 40, or this one goes to 50 pounds. So you get a lot more longevity in rear-facing mode, and then you turn them forward. And many products then, including this one, go all the way up to 65 pounds in forward-facing mode. So you have lots of time that you can keep that child using that product.
Thanks, Sarah. Next one is, do you necessarily need an infant car seat?
No, we kind of covered that just a minute ago. You really don't. So if that's not a feature that is important to you, you don't think you're going to take this carrier on and off, you might not want to use that stroller system. You want to baby wear most of the time. You don't, there's nothing that says you have to get one of these infant seats. They just provide a lot of flexibility, especially in those early days with the infant. And they're really, again, designed proportionally to ideally fit that much smaller child occupant in your vehicle. Another benefit to them is if you have multiple caregivers that are going to be doing like pickups and drop-offs at childcare, you can typically buy extra bases without needing to buy multiple carriers. So then you can place a base in any of the vehicles that you're going to use and just move the child and the carrier between those vehicles as needed. So again, just makes life a little bit easier without having to reinstall a car seat all the time. But there's no requirement that that's where you have to start.
Perfect. And just one more quick question before we move on. What's the typical expiration date? Like, how long do car seats typically last?
That's a great question. So all car seats have expiration dates. It's just a way for us to let you know when you need to completely stop using that product. For most infant car seats on the market, including this one, I don't think I said, this is the CYBEX Aton G swivel. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But this one has a 6-year expiration. That's pretty typical for infant car seats across the market, across all of the brands. The multi-mode seats, typically because they're designed to be used by one child for a longer period of time, those multi-modes typically have a longer expiration period or a useful life for the product. So in most cases across the industry, that's about 8 to 10 years. Sorona S over here is a 10-year expiration from the date of manufacture. So again, we expect that your child going from 4 pounds all the way up to 65 pounds, that one child's going to get a lot more use out of that one product.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. I think we can move on.
All right, perfect. So I wanted to dive in a little bit more specifically, talk a little bit about each of these great car seats that I have behind me, but then also highlight features. So again, when you're shopping for this new car seat, keeping in mind which features might be really important to you and your family. So again, we'll start with that infant car seat, even though that's not where you have to start with that newborn, but we'll go ahead and start there. Has the carrier that can be removed. This is, again, the Aton G swivel. It's a pretty lightweight carrier. So I think Trevor and I talked about this yesterday. It comes in right around 9 pounds. So it's really easy to take in and out of the vehicle. It's got that nice canopy. That's something that you'll find typically on that infant car seat. So you can keep the sun out of baby's eyes, especially if you're going to use it on that stroller. It has what we call a no rethread harness, which means you can raise and lower that harness height to adjust for the fit of and the growth of your child. So that harness and that headrest go up and down as needed to fit your child. And we've got infant inserts, we've got different buckle cover, harness covers, lots of comfort features in there for your child. This fabric is also brand new for CYBEX, and it's a fabric that's free of any added chemical flame retardants. So we have to meet a flammability standard that all car seat manufacturers have to do that. And we're able to meet that standard with the inherent nature of this fabric without having to add any other chemicals to the product. So that's really great there too. So that's your infant carrier. Typically with an infant car seat, you can install this infant carrier by itself too. So that's just another way that the infant car seat can be really flexible for you. If you know in that first year, maybe you're likely to take a few trips to go visit family or friends someplace. If you're going to take a few airplane trips in particular, infant car seats are super helpful. You can have that stroller, you can clip this on the stroller. This carrier can be installed on the aircraft, but then also if you're going to go and use any ride share, have a rental car, you have your car seat right there and you're able to quickly install that as needed. So it makes travel, especially that kind of travel, a little bit easier. Or if you live in an urban environment and maybe you don't drive your own personal vehicle frequently, but you use ride shares all the time or taxis, etc., like this is a great option for that too, because again, you can have the stroller and then you can easily just install this piece by itself without needing to use that base. A few features on the base to talk about. The base kind of comes up a little bit back here. You can see that. That is called an anti-rebound design. So that's helping to manage some of that crash energy. We've got lower anchor connectors. There's 2 different ways you can install a car seat typically, one with lower anchors like these, or with a vehicle seat belt. So either one of those. These are premium push-on lower anchor connectors, so they just make connecting it in your vehicle a little bit easier. The real magic of this, and I'm actually going to put my infant carrier back on to show you. So this, I said, is called the Aton G swivel. And the swivel is important in the name of this base. So what it does is you can rotate that infant car seat to face you, which can help make it easier to load and unload the child. Now, for an infant car seat, it's generally pretty easy to squeeze back here and lift that infant car seat on and off the carrier. But when that child is getting closer to the end of the use of this, they're getting closer to that 1-year mark, they start to weigh a lot more. You might not want to carry this infant carrier in and out of the vehicle regularly. So then you can just rotate the seat towards you, easily take the child in and out and just leave the infant carrier in your vehicle if you want and still get those benefits of having that infant carrier. So if you do happen to be someplace where you really want to have that on your stroller, you still have that opportunity. Baby's asleep in here, you got to your, shopping destination, you want to be able to quickly move baby into that stroller without waking them up, you'd still have that flexibility. But by the time you get home, you need to take baby all the way out. You don't have to take this all the way off if you don't want to. You can just rotate the baby to face you. So that's a pretty cool feature. Another really cool feature on this product is, the recline adjustment. It's important when we have babies facing the rear of the vehicle that we have that car seat installed so that they are reclined appropriately in the vehicle. Babies, as you know, have those big, heavy heads that they can't support. So when we hold a newborn, we have to cradle their head. And the same in that car seat. We have to get them positioned for just regular everyday travel so that their head can stay back and their airway stays open and protected. They can't do that on their own. So we have to make sure we have the car seat set up so that they can do that. So here we have a recline indicator, but we also are able to adjust that recline. And you can kind of see, maybe I'll turn this to the side a little bit because I think you'll see that better here. So I'm going to, after I've already installed this car seat, I can adjust that recline as I need to. Which is really nice. It makes it a little bit easier when you're doing your car seat installation to be able to do the install, not worry about what that recline angle is, and then adjust that after you're done. So that's a nice feature over here. So, Trevor, any Aton G swivel questions?
Yeah, there were a few. We actually answered pretty much all of them in the chat already. There were technical questions. So yeah, I think we can move on.
Great. And there's also a version of this base that's just a standard typical infant car seat base. So you'll see both a Aton G out on the market and then this Aton G swivel that I'm showing you here. But I'm going to take this off of my seat and move this bigger car seat so it's a little easier for you to see. So this is the CYBEX Sirona S. As I mentioned, this is a convertible car seat. So we do those two things. We're rear facing and for a longer period of time. And then we are forward facing in this product. Again, I went through those weight limits. It goes 4 to 50 pounds in rear facing mode and 22 to 65 pounds in forward facing mode. So that's the big benefit here. You're getting a lot more longevity of use with this type of product. And ultimately, when you outgrow the infant seat, you really need to move to one of these big multi-mode seats because the recommendation is we keep kids rear facing as long as possible. So you want to give their tiny little bodies a little bit more time to develop before we turn them to the front of the vehicle. So this car seat has a few unique features. Just like that Aton G, it has a headrest that can raise up and down. So you've got that adjustable headrest. That changes the harness height so that it raises and lowers. Again, you're adjusting that for how your child grows. When we're rear facing, we have that harness at or below the shoulder. When we turn forward, we do the opposite and go at or above the shoulder. This is really easy because you don't have to uninstall the car seat. You just squeeze that headrest and make those adjustments for your child as they grow. We also have a load leg here. And if you joined us on Wednesday, we were on the stage live. We talked a little bit about the load leg then, but this is an additional energy management feature. This right here is the only car seat in North America that features this load leg technology as well on this bigger multi-mode convertible car seat. So it's a really great feature to have. And it's really unique to have that on one of these bigger products, but super helpful because it's really providing a lot of that benefit in the crash, especially when that child is turned to the rear. The other thing that this car seat does that's really special is that right now you can see I've got it on my vehicle seat. We're facing front. So this would be set up for an older child to face the front of the vehicle. But then I'm able to also rotate this car seat. I can rotate that child to face me outboard for easier loading and unloading. And then I can rotate all the way around and use this in rear facing mode as well. I don't have it installed, so it's kind of moving a little bit on my seat, but you get the idea there. So it just makes that transition in and out of the vehicle a lot easier. As a mom of two, I can tell you that toddlers do not always want to do the things that you want to do at the moment that you need to do them. And that includes getting in and out of the car. So having the ability to rotate this seat to face you when you're doing that loading and unloading really makes that transition not only a lot easier on your back and your own physical body movements, but it's a lot harder for that toddler to fight you when you're in this position versus when they're already facing the rear and they can push their little legs off the back of that vehicle seat. So another thing to consider there, that's really nice. The only other thing that's on this seat that we haven't talked about yet, we've got sensor safe technology in the chest clip here. We talked about this a little bit on Wednesday at the live too, but sensor safe is Bluetooth enabled technology that connects to an app on your phone and gives some alerts as you're traveling in the vehicle about what's going on in that back with your child. So it'll give you the ambient air temperature around the child and will alert if it's too hot or too cold. It will alert if the child unbuckles this chest clip while you're traveling. That way you'll know that the child has unbuckled. It will give you a reminder at 2 hours in the vehicle that your child's been in this car seat for 2 hours. It's a really good idea to take a stretch break. And then most importantly, when you're traveling around, if you get to your destination, you get out of the car and your phone breaks that Bluetooth connection with the chest clip, and the chest clip is closed. So we assume then that your child is in the vehicle. We think that that child has been left behind. So we give you an alert right then. And then if you don't acknowledge that alert or come and take the child out, we will send an alert out to the emergency contacts that you've set up, your own friends and family that you've set up inside the app with your last known GPS location, stating that we think that that child is still in the vehicle. That's really where that technology originated from. We're really proud of it. But you also get access to instructions, to FAQs, useful information for that product as well. So I think we only have a few minutes left. Trevor, are there any questions about Sirona S we can go through quickly?
Well, there's definitely a lot of interest and amazement at all the features of the Sirona. I think we answered some of the questions in the chat, so there's some general questions that I think we have a few minutes left. If you want to cover those, the first one is: is there a best configuration for two convertibles next to each other in the car?
So, anytime you're trying to put two car seats next to each other, you run into sometimes a little bit of space issue. So, best if you can, try it before you buy it. See if there's an opportunity for you to try to place those two car seats in. Sometimes, if you have one child that's rear facing and one child that's forward facing, because they're facing, opposite directions, sometimes that can work really well for spacing of the car seats inside your vehicle. You might want to consider, and this is becoming a bigger trend on the market, a seat that is actually labeled as being slim. And, in my head, slim means 17 inches or less. So when you look at the dimensions and the width of that car seat, if you see something around that 17-inch mark, that generally means it's a little bit more narrow than other products that might be available. So it might be worth looking at something like that. It can be a little bit challenging though. So always don't ever feel bad about reaching out. So whether it's calling your car seat manufacturer, or finding a local car seat technician near you that can help with some of those installations. Often car seat technicians can provide virtual appointments, so you might not even need to see them in person, but they'd be able to help you kind of navigate some of those challenges with fitting two seats right next to each other.
Thanks, Sarah. This is kind of related, but slightly different. I guess we can cover this in our last minute here. Are there certain types of car seats that work better in SUVs versus sedans?
Again, I think I'd go back to depending on size, and really, honestly, sedans, it's not that they don't have enough space. It really is very dependent, even in a bigger SUV, about how much space that front seat occupant needs. So if, one person in the family is super, super tall, probably not going to fit easily a big convertible seat right behind them. But maybe the other person is a little bit smaller, and you could put that rear facing seat behind the smaller person so that you have a little bit more space. Maybe it's just if you have a smaller vehicle, you can't have somebody sitting up front. Or if you only have one child, you try to put them in the center seat of the back seat, where you again have a little bit more flexibility because you don't have that front seat in front of you. So certainly something to think about. Again, if you can try it out first, that can be really helpful. And just so you know, we're going to be live in our booth right now. So as soon as we finish here, come and join us in the booth. We'd be happy to help answer any more of your questions and do some more demos with the products.
For sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people are wondering how to adjust the straps and some specific stuff on the Serona. So please come over to our booth. Thanks for joining us on the main stage, and we'll see you soon.
Fabulous. Thanks, everybody.